Good day, and you are welcome once again to a lecture on web application development. And today we are starting from where we stopped. Okay, we stopped at header over here. And what exactly are we doing? We are trying to shift our design to a separate page and let the content remains on the index.html, so that at the end of the day we will be able to merge the style.css together with the index.html, thereby giving us one file in return. But in the real sense of it, we are managing two different files, and this will indeed give us an ability to separate our work, to do division of labor, and to even be able to lay our hands on which part of the code is giving us some results, and thereby giving us a more robust and a more accurate way of working than maintaining one file for a very large project. Nobody does that anymore. And today we are going to start from exactly where I left off. You will discover that in the last lecture I stopped when I got to header over here, and starting from the header upward, you won't get a chance to see anything like style, but that does not mean they do not have any style applied to them. If you want to get to see the style applied to them, then you need to shift to the style.css file and take a good look at them. Then you will discover that they are very neat over here as much as they are neat over here as well. And that is the principle, that is the approach we are using to work right now. Okay, so moving on further, we want to repeat same thing, same process, same routine to the other tags here. Okay, now if you click on this div, you will discover that it's another separate tag entirely. But who is the parent of this div that I label content? Remember, the content is just a comment that is not really doing anything. Okay, just to see. Now this div is a descendant or is a child of what? Let me collapse this so that you can get a chance to see. Okay, now you will discover that this div I have here is under home here. That is to tell you that it's a child of home, but it has nothing to do with header. In fact, you can indeed call this header and this div over here as siblings, like brothers, okay? Or you can call them sisters or brothers and sisters, but they are from the same parent. As such, you do not want to say that this div I'm pointing to is a descendant of header. That is going to be entirely wrong. But of course, this div over here is a descendant of another div that we change its name to home. Okay, and if you want to leverage on such an hierarchy, then you need to head straight over to style.css here and create such an hierarchy by saying .home. That is, we are referring to a class, and you say div over here, we are referring to a tag, and this tag is called div that is a child of home, and that's exactly what we have in mind. Okay, so now if you head straight over here, you will discover that this div, which I call content, does not even have any style applied to it. But let me show you one thing. If you click on this div and you scroll down to look at the end of the div, this is the end of the div. You are very lucky because we do not have another div like this, because if we do have another div like this, that means the first div here that I call content and this one are both children of the same parent, and the parent in this case is home. So if you head straight to this place and create styles under this div, the styles will now be applied to the div that is content and also to this new div. So you are applying it to all the div that is a descendant of home. So in some cases that is not what you want. So how do you go over it? Simple, you give this first div its own name and give this one to its own name. The name in this case is going to be their class. But good for us, we do not even have two div in our hierarchy, but let us assume that we did have. So if you do have it, how do you manage that? Okay, now this is the div I am talking to right now. simple, I will give it a class of content. It's as simple as that. But the issue right now is, if you head straight over here, we do not have any class of content. So you need to create that class of content, and do not remember that such a class should be a descendant of home. And for that reason, I will come over here and create another class. Remember, I said to you that a class must be preceded by a dot. So I would not forget that, and I would now put dot what? Dot content in this case. Okay, that means I have succeeded in creating a separate class that is a descendant of home, and that class is called what? Content. And good for me, I already gave it here. So good. But I won't be applying any style to content just because there is no style over here applied to content, and I do not even have the intention of applying one. But there is a div here which is a child of content that has a whole lot of property under it. So I want, and over here you can see that I call this div, I call it banner. Okay, and I have a div here that I call banner. I have another div here that I call product. It will be good for me to just continue to on the naming convention, because if I am to say a div that is a descendant of content, two divs now qualify, two divisions now qualify, and I do not want to apply the same properties to the two division. So the only way out of it is to give those divisions their separate name so that you can manage them separately. Okay, and if I am to do that, simple, I will just say dot home, dot content, and dot what? Dot banner, because I'm giving the first div banner, and these are its properties. So I'm repeating the same thing, dot content and dot, this one is going to be product, as you guessed right. Okay, and that is my hierarchy. The hierarchy is so important to me, so much so that I decided to teach it alongside teaching CSS, which of course is very interesting. So now these are the style that belongs to what? That belongs to the div that is called banner. Okay, so I'm removing it. The only thing that I will be putting there is a class of what? Of banner. Simple as that. Okay, if you save this document now, even if you save this tool, you would totally lose your banner, which is this thing that I put this picture, and if you refresh it, you lost it. But it can be regained. There is no cause for alarm. Okay, so remember, I'm talking to banner right now, so I'm hitting Ctrl V, and I will just make it a comment. So that means I put it there so that I can have a chance of getting to see it. I've done it before. So I'm going to give a weight of 100%. That means I want the banner to take the entire weight of the page, so it will be as large as the page. Then the height in this case as 80 is taking 80 VH, meaning that it will take almost 80% of your height, so that you can have some other 20% to display the other content. Okay, then background size, BG size, you can just type BG size, and the IntelliSense or Visual Studio Code editor will help you out. It will always got you covered, and right now I'm giving it covered as the value. Okay, then the background image, so you just type BG image, then it will help you out. Then you are giving it URL of the image as the value. Very important, we've done all of this before. So you want to put a / here and type the name of the picture you are linking to. Okay, and that marks the end of the banner over here. So it's Ctrl S to save your work, and if you head straight over here to quickly test out and you refresh your document, you got it back. You are not getting it back. Then at this point you really want to shout out large. Why am I not really getting it? I'm in deep trouble. Why? I do not have time. The client is on my back. So how do I solve this? I don't want to be this great. All of those will be running in your mind, but there is no cause for alarm. It's always easy. Just relax. Okay, let's quickly find a way out around this. Now check it out. When we are here, when those properties are here, when those properties are here, I mean when I have not cut it, I am working under index.html, and linking to a picture under images is straightforward. This is the mobile.png. Because I am working under index.html, all I need to do is just to open images straight away, and inside images I will find mobile.png. Good for me. But the case has changed when it comes to the style.css. Why? Because you are presently working on style.css, which is not in the same scope with index.html. Rather, the style.css is inside CSS folder, and for you to get a chance to get to mobile.png, you need to first get out of this CSS folder. It's only after you've gotten out that you can get a chance to open images. But right now I'm opening images even though I'm in this scope, and unfortunately my web browser can't find any folder called images inside the CSS folder. But I could have helped my browser out. And how do you do that? You try to tell your browser to move you out of the CSS folder, then open the images folder, and from there you get a chance to see the mobile.png. Doing that is very simple. You only need to add double dot and a forward slash. It means, can you please step outside of the CSS folder? Then once you step outside, you now get a chance to see the images folder. Then you now get a chance to see the mobile.png file. So now the computer won't really be angry at you any longer. So you need to refresh now, and good for you, you get it back. No cause for alarm. Tell your clients to put his mind at rest. So we are really heading there. And if you head straight back to our index.html, you see that we have really indeed succeeded in removing the style.css away from the div here and move it entirely to the style.css. But again, you want to do the same thing for the for these ones too. Remember that the banner to have another div inside it, which of course is a child. So I need to take all of this away, because the idea is we do not want to see style again, and seeing it thus we want again. So hit Ctrl X to cut it out if you are on Windows OS, okay? And if you hit Ctrl S to save your job now, and you quickly take a look at your, now can you see the position of the passion dry sauce? But if you refresh now, it lost its position and its color and some other properties. It's now here just because you move it away from this document. But there is no cause for alarm. We are repeating same thing, which of course you must get by now. So I need to come back here and quickly create dot home dot content dot banner and dot what, the, let's call it, okay, sorry, let's call it div. Not no dot any longer. That means I'm talking to the div that is a descendant of banner. And remember, we have some properties we want to apply to it. Okay, so let me hit configuration mark to just cut it, but of course it's spawning. Let's collapse this so that we can have a chance to even see better. Okay, good for us. Now let's quickly apply this property as we already have it. So we have position and we are giving it a value of absolute, not relative. So sorry, there's some. Then we are shifting it down, so we use the top and shifting it down by 50 VH. You know what that does, right? Then we are shifting it right, and so we use left, shifting it right by 45%, and we are giving it a color of yellow. Oh my god, yellow. Okay, and we are giving it font weight. Just type, you do not need to type it in full, but mind you, you need to put semicolon at the end of every line, because if you don't, you stand a chance of not getting it right. Okay, and we are having some red line here. Okay, thank you. You can see we have two semicolon here, so it's trying to give you the red line to tell you there is an issue. Okay, so font weight and you want to give it 20%. Good for you. Then you can now take it out. Then you can now save your work, and it is now as simple as that. And chances are, if you x-ray back here, you should not get what you started with. Okay, good for us. We now have our passion drive out in its position. That means we are done with the banner. Then we need to move to the product, and once we are done with the product, then we can now call it up for today. Okay, so now let's go back to our document and see where we are. So we are now at this second div, which is a descendant of content. So but we call it product, and if you take a very good look at it, the product itself has another div in it, and this one is the one that really have a lot of. So let's start from this first one here that we call product, and it only has a margin of 5%. So we want to remove the margin of 5%. Then you want to come straight back here and products. Okay, then you want to give it a margin of how many percent? 5%. And this kind of margin is going to go all around the border, like the top, bottom, left and right. Okay, so let's head straight back in, and now we have another div that is a descendant of product, and we want to shift it away. So once again, I am moving it. Okay, and you want to hit Ctrl S to cut it. Then you want to head straight to style.css. And at this point in time, let's quickly create a hierarchy again. I enjoy working with the hierarchy in CSS so much so that it helps you only if you know. So product, and what do we call this one? Okay, it's a child. Okay, no problem. Let's just call it child. But the thing is, if you look at it, this is the first child, isn't it? Then if you scroll down, we have second child, and this is another div. Okay, and this is the second child, because this is the end of the first child. Okay, so I will just name it child or anything. Sure, you understand? So because the divs are many, but let's just call it div, because I know that I will be applying the same set of properties to the first child and the second child. Why am I doing that? If you look at it, don't they look alike? They really did look alike, only few things changes from them. Okay, and I will be applying the same property. So why not just call it item or something like, or child or something like that? So instead of calling it those, I will just speak to div, and the properties will be applicable to the div or to all the childs. Okay, so now let's write on Ctrl V to paste, and this is the property I cut, if you remember. So now I'm talking to the div that is a descendant of product, and you want to give it a border of how many percent? 3 pixel, and you want to give it a the border will have 3 pixel. It should be solid and it should have color blue. Okay, then we graduate to the width property, and we are giving it 30%, and we head straight forward to test the line, and we are giving it a value of center. Then we give it float left, just because we are floating those items to the left. Okay, good for you. And right now it will be applicable to all the div that is a descendant of product. You need to hit Ctrl S to save your document. Then then we are done with these parts. So but also we have img. You can leave the img, it does not have any style. Now we have table, and the table have some properties that you do want to take, but remember that the table is a descendant of this div here, so you can capitalize on the hierarchy again. And for now, I'm going to hit Ctrl C to copy and hit Ctrl V to paste. But this time around, I want to talk to table, and if you head straight to this part, you will discover that we have table that is a descendant of this div here. So we are talking to table, and the table did have some property, so we want to take the property of the table away, because the idea is we do not want to see any style. So if you head straight over here, and you need to type table, because you are applying now. By now you're supposed to know that when we want to speak directly to tag, you do not precede it with a dot because it's not a class, it's just a tag. So but all the table inside div will now have these properties, but I only have one table, which is good for me. So moving on further, I'm giving the table a border of 1 pixel, and I am sorry please, 1 pixel. It should have solid color and it should have it should be solid and it should have brown color. Then the width of the table should now be 100% because I want the table to be as large as its parent. So, and good for me, that is the two property for the table. So you can remove this, and if you head straight over here again, you will discover that the table have table role, and the table role now have this property. And if you look at it, both the table row and the table data have the same property. Okay, both of them have the same property, but let's quickly take it off from them. So I will just hit Ctrl C to copy, hit Ctrl D to select all of them at once and delete them once and for all. Okay, oops, sorry. Okay, good. Oops, sorry. I think it's good right now. Okay, hit Ctrl S to save the job. Okay, I think it's very good, it's looking nice, but we need to come back here and apply that thing to Ctrl V. So this is the two property, if you remember. Ctrl C. Let's keep up with the same approach. I do not want to introduce too many concepts at you all at once. Okay, so the table table row, which of course you want it to add some property, and even the T row have some TD, which of course you want to have some property, and the property in this case is border 1 pixel followed by solid, then brown color, and Ctrl C, so you can put the same thing here because they are the same property, and you can come back here and hit Ctrl S to save the document. So if you come back here, you see that our first this thing, look at it very well, look at it, it's now clean. But first, let's now come back here and refresh. Okay, so you can see that the first one we applied to lost some attribute, so it's okay. If you head straight back to your style.css, okay, you must make sure that you have the spelling correct. We have content and we have product, and the product is a class. Okay, but over here we do not give it a class of product, so there is no way for a browser to even know. So class, and you want to give it product by the way of naming the class, and so you want to refresh again, and good for you, now you have it. So you can see it's somehow technical, like one little thing can cause you not to have the desired result, then you'll be wondering what have I done wrong or something like that. Okay, so since I'm applying it to all of these, I will just go to the second one, which is the second child, and delete those. Okay, then for the table, I'm deleting this as well. Okay, and for the TR, I'm deleting this as well. Okay, delete them. Okay, good. Hit Ctrl S to save. So if you refresh, you will get something you don't well, it's not really, look at it, there's some things going on there. So let's delete this one as well. Because if you take a very good look at it, we have margin left of 4%. Okay, I hope you understand that. Let me the second one to have margin left of 4%, because if you take a very good look at it, you can see we lost some margin here. You understand, we lost some margin because this second one should have margin left of 4%, something like that. But of course we can work our way around it. Like now, if you go back to our style.css, you will discover that we do not have margin right of 4%, and that's the reason why we lost the margin. Okay, but we can indeed work our way around it to make sure that on this div here, which we call child, it has margin left of 4%, but the first one do not need to have it. So we've worked with something like that before, and we can still do it again. So I'm deleting this, sorry. So let me quickly delete for this table too. Then you need to quickly okay, deleting them. So let's delete this all at once by pressing Ctrl D to select the likely ones. Okay, then you can hit escape key. Okay, so you can see now that all the childs now do not have any of this, but that's the advantage of CSS. Only this one will not be applicable to all the three. So if you hit your Ctrl S to save your work and you refresh your document, okay, you can see we now have it. But the only thing lacking here is the margin left of 4%. But the margin left of 4%, we want to apply it to these two. We do not want to apply it to the first one, and that one is not a problem. Okay, so that means you can just put if you want to follow with what we did before, you can put margin left of 4% here. But the problem is it will now apply this 4% to all the three, but we do not want it to apply to the first one. We just want to shift this to the left, shift it to the left. We do not want to shift this one. But if you refresh right now, you see that it can just be accommodated on that line again. So remember what I did from the last lecture is to put hash here, put something like pad here. Then I now have the one that does not even have the pad. Like I duplicated something like this. There are multiple ways to work around this. So that means this is applicable to all the div, and this one does not have the margin left of 4%. So those one that we now have the margin left of 4% can now have an ID of what? Of div. So those ones that have margin left of 4% can now have an ID of div. So we work with something similar in the previous lecture. So back to the first child. So the first child do not need to have the div, but the second child does need to have an ID of pad because we want it to have that padding. Then the third child also needs to have an ID of pad, and you want to hit Ctrl S to save your document. Then you want to refresh. Then you see now that we really get what we want. So, and this marks the end of the design for this product here. And if we are going to do any more thing, that will be for this small one, which is footer. I would have loved to leave this as an exercise for you to quickly finish it up, so that we can move to something else because there is no time. But let me give you hints on how to do this one on your own. Okay, you want to follow the same process that we've been doing. You just want to copy the styles away from all of this and put it inside. Okay, let's shift back to our code. So we had done, so that means I'm leaving the footer here for you to do as an exercise. But remember that footer is not a footer is also a child of what? If you scroll up of the contents, because if you click on the content div and you scroll down, this is the end of the content div. Okay, so you can see that footer is not a child of the content. Instead, the footer is a child of home. So if you click on home and you scroll down to check the end, this is it. So you can see that footer is inside home. So you want to leverage on that and hierarchy. So footer is inside home. This div is a child of footer. So I will be leaving this for you to quickly complete on your own as an exercise. And if you cannot really do it, but you should be able to do it. If you cannot, then we'll do it together. So thank you once again for joining me on this lecture, and I'm so glad you are staying with me up till now. So thank you so much. You are really welcome. Try to complete my exercise, and I will be moving you to something different, which has to do with responsive. Before we move to responsiveness, then we need to quickly cover something on the linking of pages together, as well as the form, HTML form. So once we are able to complete that, then I move it straight away to handling responsiveness with CSS Flexbox. So thank you once again for joining me on this lecture.